probably 75, 80 feet. So in today's video, I'm going to climb some really tall trees. So I'll share with you some of the equipment that I'm using to climb trees today. The reason why we're climbing is for limbing. I'm looking after and managing a forest on our property and planting and just maintaining its health. And part of that job of maintaining the health of the forest is keeping things limbed up and safe or more safe from wildland fire. We don't want a lot of excess fuel in the ground to come up and to destroy the crop. So I do have a responsibility. No one else is going to look after it for me to be sure that it is safe as possible and has the best chance that it can to survive a wildland fire, because we have a lot tied up into it. So I'll share with you kind of the things that I'll be using. These are tree climbing spikes. These were given to me by my old neighbor Henry. Those of you guys that have watched the Something Old, Something New video will remember the saw that came from him also. And they were, when I got them from him, they were in pretty bad shape. He told me that he was a pretty big guy, that when he originally got these in the 30s or 40s, that they were too short for them, and he'd added them on right there. You can see that repair. And then you can see that they have the nice big spikes on them. Western climbing spikes, or logging climbing spikes, will have a much bigger spike on them here than maybe some of the spikes that you guys use or the guys use when they're climbing power poles or electricians or linemen. Or the hardwood climbers will have a shorter spike. It's because the trees were big and they have a very thick bark, and you need that spike to penetrate in there. And also, when he gave these to me, all of the leather straps that go around the boots were all rotted out. And I found a really great company in Washington State called Madson's. That's M-A-D, maybe I'll try to annotate that. But they sell forestry products and logging things, and if you want a really fun mail order catalog, it's fun to look through. If you're into chainsaws and axes and that type of thing, then request their catalog. But they had, not only did they have the stuff, but they have multiple options. So I got all brand new leather from them, and that these pads here, which go against your shin, these were all rotten, and I was able to get those replacements there too. So I was pretty happy about that. So these are the spikes, and we'll be using to climb. And then the next component of it is a climbing belt. This is more of a electrician's climbing belt, maybe something you'd find for linemen or pole climbers. But it was given to me, and you know, I'm all about getting good deals and just trying to make do with what I have. And so this is, I'm fortunate to have it. It's a nice big heavy belt. You can see with the D-rings that will hook to the loop, and then wire reinforced and just super sturdy. And then I'll be using for cutting the limbs is just this small Baco handsaw. This is kind of, those of you familiar with the Baco Laplander, which you see in a lot of my videos, the folding saw, it's just a little bit bigger version. It's kind of like a fixed blade version of it versus the folding, and the handle is just a little bit more ergonomic and easier to use. I could take a chainsaw up there, but sometimes I just get, I'm not in the mood to listen to all the noise and drama that goes along with those power tools, and it's just nice to get out and just enjoy the quietness of a handsaw. And whatever I take up there, I always put on a lanyard, because it's inevitable that you're going to drop it, and this way you can retrieve it and not have to climb back down again. And then this here is the loop. You can see here is what you put around the tree and lean against, and I'll demonstrate that here in a little bit. And this again is a loop that's designed to work around utility poles. It doesn't have a lot of adjustability in it, because telephone poles are pretty much standard and you can get away with one belt. A proper logging belt that I should have would be made out of rope with a wire in the center of it, and it would be much more adjustable. But again, I just haven't come across one, and this is what I have. And it just so happens that the trees that I'm climbing are very similar to the size of the telephone pole, so it works out fine until I can get something else. But that essentially is the equipment. So we'll take it down there and get up in the tree, and I'll take the camera up there and we'll see what we can see. Also, there's one other thing I wanted to talk to you about, some really good winter gloves that I've used these for as long as I can remember. And these are really great gloves to use for winter time. When it's a little bit too cold for leather, you'll see that a lot of the guys in the forest industry have used these for years, and they're made in Washington State by the Wranglerstar company, all USA made. And the model that I like is the white ox. And you can get the white ox with the red elastic on the back or without it. You pay just a little bit more for them. I don't even think it's $1, just a few cents, I believe. And it's nice because it holds it tighter on the back of your hand and it fits better. But you can buy these things on eBay or Amazon, or go right to their site. You can buy them at $6 or $12 at a pair. They're really inexpensive, and they are wonderful gloves. They're good to work in. They're very warm, even when it's cold. I would not recommend them in any type of a wet climate because they are cotton and they soak up the water really bad. But if it's cold and below freezing, these things are the ticket. I just love these gloves, the White Ox by Wranglerstar. So here I am back in the quiet woods, and the majority of the limbing that I've done around the property as I'm working in the forest has been done with the pole saw. I can reach up to about 12, 13 feet or so. And that works really good because you can work on the ground. But there are a few trees maybe the trees here at the entrance that I'm going to climb today, that I want to open up more. They're preventing a lot of the southern sun from reaching some of the smaller trees and inhibiting their growth. And also I want to be able to have that openness as we walk into the forest. So aesthetically I like it. So I want to take a few limbs quite a bit higher than I can with this pole saw. So that's where we're going to start today, in the small. We have a little grove here, mix of 6 or 7 Doug firs and a couple white firs, and we'll start. It's a good place to start. So the trees I'm working on right here is a small grove of firs and white firs, Doug firs and white firs, and this is kind of the entrance to our forest. This is where I've started the clearing. You can see here it's just to the west of the pond, which is starting to freeze over, and all this area you can see here that I've been thinning and clearing out. So this is kind of the focal point, the first thing you see when you come in through the trail that we're building. And what I want to do is to thin this out up here a little bit. It's just a little bit too bushy, and it's preventing sun from getting in, and just aesthetically it'll look nicer to limb those up. So we'll pick one of these and start and see how it goes. So I'm up about 20 feet to hit the first branch. It's going to be a little difficult to film up here while I'm working, but I'll do my best. I've ran into my first branch, and obviously I've got to cut them as they go because my climbing strap won't be able to go over them. So I'll start with this one, start working my way around. When you're cutting branches on trees like that, kind of the natural tendency is to cut them flush, but actually it's better for the tree if you come out a little bit, 3/4 of an inch or so, because as over the years, as the branch and the knot rots away, leaving a little wood there will prevent it from getting a hole and giving a potential ingress for insect and animals that can damage the tree. One of the nice things about cutting in the wintertime is that, as you can see there, the branches are so brittle and frozen, the water's frozen in them, that you don't have to cut very much. I just touch the top of it, and usually they'll crack and break off, and it's much less work than in the summertime when they're softer and pliable. I do have to admit that it is unnerving being up this high, especially when these branches crack. I guess it's just something you get used to after a while. I'm I don't know, a long ways up. So this is high as I can go on this tree. It splits into two and it gets too wide for my climbing belt, but I'm up here probably 75, 80 feet, and it is exciting. It is thrilling, but it's also just so cool to be up here. I'm looking at into the tops of some of these other trees that are pretty tall. But what a view. Kind of a advantage of the squirrel. Here's the downside to climbing a tree with spikes. You can see there the holes that's been poked through the bark into the wood. That's an avenue there, can be an avenue for bugs to get in and to damage the tree. The forest is healthy, well managed. This should be okay. It shouldn't be a problem, but just something to consider. Last night in the Bible study, when we were finishing up, somebody asked me a question, and the question was, why did you and your wife decide to move out in the country? Why did you decide? What was the reason why you wanted to start homesteading? And the honest question is when we first met, we were both living in the city, inside, really close in Portland, and enjoyed that lifestyle. And you know, we weren't Christians at the time and just didn't know any better. But now I can see, and we began to see then, but it's really clear to me now that it's very difficult to have that that peace, to be able to have that two-way conversation with God when you live in that environment. That's the main reason why I'm such an advocate of getting yourselves out of the hectic rat race of the city. There's so many things competing for your attention. You know, there's two sides. There's the adversary and then there's God. And they're both competing for our attention. God speaks to us with a still small voice. He speaks to us quietly. He speaks to us through His creation, where the devil speaks through us through noise and chaos and confusion. And that's what you have in the cities. You have everything screaming for your attention. Music, lights flashing, advertisements, cars, people, chaos. It's difficult to have that communication with a God who speaks to us quietly, speaks to us through His creation when we can't even see it. So, you know, it's just the perfect example. It just comes to mind when I'm out here today in the city. When I looked around, what did I see? I saw everything that was created by man, whether it was adverts or architecture, parks, everything that you look at uplifts the ingenuity and the genius of man. But out here it's very much different. I see very little of that. I see God's creation, the snow and the trees and just the beautiful, beautiful countryside that He's created. I think that countryside, whether it be the alpine area like we live or the tropics or wherever, is such a testimony to the creativity and the beautifulness of the Creator. He didn't have to make all these variety of trees and plants and thousands, if not millions of varieties of flowers and animals, different types, different shapes. It could have just been a utilitarian God and just created for us what was needed to keep us alive. But the fact that everything is so different and so changing and it is just a testimony to me to the creativity and the beautifulness and the character of God. And it's hard to see that sometimes when you're out in the country. And to answer the question that many people have asked, no, we didn't move out here because we were really concerned about economic collapse or all those other things you hear from so many people. Those are byproducts of it, but if the truth was known, we came out here to slow down, to get off the treadmill of the city. We were never intended to live that way. And I just really, if you have the means, do whatever you can to simplify your life and to get yourself in a location where you can slow down a little bit and just be at peace. So I've got to get down, and I'm not going to be able to. I'll have my hands full here, so I will. I'll see you in the next video. That's about all there is today. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Oh, that looks better. One down, 6 to go.